Okay, hey, good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to introduce you to Charlotte Davies of the Wildside. And Charlotte, please just inform us and tell us more about you as a business owner and about your company and how long have you been a business owner and you've been in business for?
Well, I was a business owner in the US, but I moved here, sadly, in January of 2020.
All right, okay.
Right before the very first lockdown.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had a lot to go through. I had to purchase a building, I had to convert it to a manufacturing facility for dog food. So the company has been started since 2020, but I didn't actually open for trading until March or April of this year.
Mm-hmm.
Between construction delays and COVID delays and
yeah.
So but I finally got sign off from DEFRA and APHA authorities, as well as local trading offices, back in June of this year.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So
wow.
I can officially manufacture and sell my custom dog food.
Oh, wow. Wow. Oh, great. And how long you been in?
Can you give me just 1 second?
Yeah, sure. That's no worries.
I've got an employee out
Okay.
buying product to make food. Okay.
Okay, great. So tell me, what do you actually do as a business, Charlotte?
So I am both a canine nutritionist as well as a zoopharmacognosy therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And I make a custom brand of freeze-dried dog food, all from fresh local ingredients from farmers that focus on organic and sustainable practices.
Oh, wow. And how long you been doing this for then?
Well, the idea started before I ever moved here in 2019, but like I said, with all the delays, I finally opened for business in March, April, late March, early April this year.
Okay. And I was going to ask you, you kind of like alluded about the pandemic and obviously COVID there. So what has been the biggest impact on you since COVID?
Well, there were a lot of different individual impacts, things like not being able to open a bank account because the banks were all closed.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And a lot of construction delays because I actually purchased a building and it 3 floors and had to have it converted from offices and a photo studio to a dog manufacturing food facility, as well as just shop on the ground floor. And then I converted the upstairs to a flat.
Wow. I see.
And with COVID, there's a lot of supply delays on the building materials.
Yes, that's true. That is true. What would you say was the 1 or 2 actions that you have taken to overcome these challenges that you have with COVID?
Mostly I spent a lot of the time doing a lot of background work and working on getting all the right regulations and all of the things that I needed to have in place to get the approvals from all of the regulating authorities. So it was basically filling empty time with things that I could do that would take away from time once the business was open.
I see. And would you say those actions are working for you right now?
Absolutely. Like I said, once the shop opened, it took me 2 months total to get the APHA approval.
Okay.
Which was required before I could actually sell the food. So, but I tend to be, I was a quality assurance engineer in the tech industry for many years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I tend to be very focused on the minutia. So like when I had to submit my HACCP plan, which is a hazard analysis and critical control point plan.
Okay.
Even the inspector, who's a professional, I mean, he does this for a living. He's also a veterinarian. He goes, I've never had anybody submit such a complete HACCP plan.
Oh, wow. Wow. And what would you say, so far as a business owner, what has been your biggest learning so far?
The one thing that I'm still struggling with is trying to drive in foot traffic. And I get that it's 2022 and so many things are going e-commerce. But one of the things that I try to focus on is that I want everything sourced here locally so that it has a very minimal carbon footprint.
Okay.
And as well as, I mean, if you think about it, even the vegetables, they're living things and their nutrient value starts to diminish the minute they're picked.
Right. Okay.
So the fresher I can get the ingredients, the healthier the food's going to be.
All right. Okay.
And what started the passion, I don't know if this is relevant or not, but when I went to university back in California, I went to UC Davis, which I'm sure you're aware.
Yeah.
It's a premier ag school, #1 vet school west of the Mississippi, really.
Yes.
And I was raising and breeding horses at the time.
Oh, wow.
But, yeah, and when I rented it, I rented a mini ranch basically so that I could have my horses at home. And then it dawned on me one day, I'm like, wait, I'm gonna have a fenced yard. I can get this dog, right? And I really wanted a Rottweiler. And it's almost like I put it out in the universe and the universe gave it to me, because literally the day I'm unpacking my moving van, this female Rottweiler who had recently had a litter of puppies with a chain link chained around her neck that was bloody raw, missing all of the hair on her back, shows up at my fence line.
Wow.
It's like I put it out there. The universe said, "Here you go." I took her to the vet the next Monday morning, and because I am a dyed-in-the-wool animal lover, first thing I told him is, "I don't know where this dog came from, and I don't care. I'm not putting up a found your dog flyer, because wherever she came from, she's not going back."
Wow. Okay.
And he took a look at her. He said the reason she's probably and most likely missing all of the hair on her back is because she had a food allergy that nobody was paying attention to.
Okay.
And so basically we put her on an elimination diet, which is basically you take them down to chicken broth and chicken. And then you start adding back in ingredients until the allergy starts to resurface.
Okay.
And that didn't take long to figure out that it was wheat and corn. And really cursory research really revealed that those are two of the most common fillers that kibble companies use. Okay. And scientifically, dogs absolutely have zero need for carbohydrates, which is all those are. They're pure carbs. And so the vet, when he looked at her, he said she's probably about 4 years old based on her dentition. And she'd recently had puppies, obviously. And if you think about it, 4-year-old female Rottweiler who just had puppies, to put it in terms that you probably understand, she should have weighed every bit of 80 to 100 pounds. She weighed 40.
Wow. Wow. Oh my goodness, Sarah.
Right. So I fed her by hand homemade food for the rest of her life. Now, the average Rottweiler will only live between 8 and 10 years. That's the average lifespan.
Sure.
Mine lived to be the ripe old age of 17.
Wow.
And she is still a very much loved and missed part of my family.
I'm sure. Wow. For an animal to live 17, or a dog to live 17 years, that's
a breed dog.
That's a good life. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I studied animal science at university, so it's like I had sort of have an edge there. But
sure. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. And
yeah,
that's awesome story. I just love to hear those kind of stories there. And what would you say? I mean, I know you talked about quite a few challenges there, but what would you say has been your biggest issue for you to overcome since being a business owner?
For my specific business, because I firmly believe in the raw versus kibble debate.
Okay.
Because kibble, by the time it reaches your dog's mouth, has been superheated, sure, a minimum of 4 to 5 times, which kills all basic nutrient values in the ingredients to start with, and they have to add it back in with a chemical slurry.
Okay.
And the fresher the food, you don't have to do that. And so I wanted to do a freeze-dried raw food, but unfortunately, because of the regulations here, they won't permit a facility that goes from raw straight to freeze-dried.
Okay.
So I have to do what they call a high pressurized kill step. which is essentially heating the food to a specific degree. Don't have to leave it there, but I have to get it at least that hot, but it cooks the meat to some
So
degree.
it has to be at a certain temperature then, is that right?
Right. Which sort of, it does deplete the nutrient value to some degree, but because of the method that I'm using, it's basically I slowly heat it rather than rapid heating.
Mhm.
And I just make it to that temperature. Once it hits that temperature, it stops.
Wow, okay.
And it doesn't have to stay at that temperature long. It just has to hit that temperature.
Hit that temperature, yeah, that's the main thing. Wow.
So that was my biggest one, because I had to, what I'm working on now, and it's still an ongoing process, is I'm trying to gather all of the scientific studies and evidence that proves that going straight from raw to freeze dried is not, it's not a health hazard for the animal.
Okay.
So that's another thing, because I have to produce that to DEFRA to try to even get them to consider changing the regulations.
Wow. Oh, wow, that's amazing. Well, can I ask you this? I mean, after all this you've gone through, what have you learned about yourself, as a business owner in this journey?
What I want to say is that I am very much, I want to make sure all my ducks are in a row, always. And sometimes what I have to learn is, and I've had a coach tell me this years ago, you need to learn that good and done is better than perfect and still waiting.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. I like that quote. Yeah.
So, but the other one is, there are times when it's like, it just seems like it's insurmountable, especially with the pandemic and all of the delays with that, because I'm over here on a visa, right?
Yeah.
And I have to get this up and running, and I have to meet certain benchmarks. And one of my friends, his name's Jesse Itzler, very famous guy in the US. And one of his quotes that I took from him is, "I didn't come this far to only come this far."
Okay.
So.
Wow. Those are some powerful quotes that you just actually recited just now. That actually quite resonated. That's just, I love those. So that's great. And what would you, I think the question I asked you is, if you had, if an 18-year-old was to go into business now, what advice would you give to that 18-year-old if they were to go into their own business?
What advice? I think that I think one of the things that's really kept me going is that I am truly passionate about my vision.
Okay.
I believe that that feeding your dog, because really there's been a rising problem with our dog population. Ever take the 1950s or 60s, when kibble was kind of introduced. Okay. There was growing obesity problem, lots of health problems, pancreatic problems and diabetes, and 99% of it is nutrition based. Okay. And the fact that I firmly believe in that, and I believe that what I offer is better than what's on the market today. Yeah. Keeps me going. Are there set all the time? All right. But my belief in my vision and the passion that I have for it keeps me going. Come on. That's good. And what's inspiring you today? Today, I actually got my approval for my visa to be renewed, which means I get to stay here for another 3 years to keep building the business. One of the things that zoopharmacognosy is one of those fields most people have never heard of. Mm-hmm. And it's really only been about since about the 1980s. And it's sort of like holistic medicine was back when they introduced it to humans. It's a little frowned on by traditional veterinarians. Yes. But it's basically zoopharmacognosy, when you break the word down, means animal, drug, knowledge. Okay. And they've actually done studies in the wild of wild animals, most notably gorillas and chimpanzees, but dogs as well, where they will go out of their normal pathing patterns or their normal range when they have some sort of ailment that needs to be addressed, and they will eat plants that would normally be toxic to them. And they only eat it in a very finite amount so that they don't poison themselves.
Wow. Okay.
And for all of the chemicals and vaccines and stuff that we give our dogs, you would think that in the wild they would be riddled with them. But they're not.
Okay.
Because they know what plants to basically allow them to address the issue themselves. And of course, with domestication, we've sort of limited their ability to free roam to find those recipes or those remedies. So zoopharmacology is about basically offering them a plethora of different options when they have some sort of problem, and let them basically self-select which one they want.
Okay. Wow. Wow. Well, that's honestly that concludes. Thank you so much, Charlotte. That concludes our interview.